Hey, what's up, guys? Do you want to get your hands on the latest From the Stash merch? Check the links below, get the From the Stash store, and go check to see the latest drop. We appreciate all the support, as always, and we will check you in the next epi. A huge shout out to AC Infinity. They recently released their humidifier. This is an easy top fill system that allows you to adjust the moisture levels from the outside of your tent. It connects to the controller 69, which makes things so much easier to use. You can follow it on your app. You can see it from outside the tent without ever having to step inside. If you head over to acinfinity.com, use promo code THESTASH15, you can save a few dollars off not only the humidifier, but all of their products. And while you're at it, thank them for being a sponsor of today's video. It is a Q&A epi here today because you know what? We've been asked quite a bit from the community to do these, believe it or not, because every episode we put in on the channel, in the bottom, there's tons of questions always. And, you know, people ask, are these episodes even live? Do you guys talk to the audience? Believe it or not, we do. First question I saw was a very important one. It was from, dang it. It was about Chris's skincare routine. Curious, Chris, what do you use? Yeah, I am Snap says, I need Mr. Growit's skincare routine. What are you using on your skin, bro?
Origins. Ever heard of it? It's a skincare company. They've got a face scrub, and then there's also a moisturizer. So
you really do have a face. Okay.
I should hope so. I got one. Yeah, I should hope so.
What? Why not? Right? Yeah.
I
You
just
gotta wash
use
your face
fucking-
with something, right? I mean, some people, I guess,
Do you
just
use
use
a
bar soap or whatever, but that stuff dries out your skin, doesn't it?
Yep. I have sensitive skin, man. Like it's bad. Like if I'm not careful, a lot of times I got to be careful with my hat because underneath my hat collects a lot of sweat and stuff. So yeah, I got one too. I use a scrub myself. Really enjoy it because it clears your pores and yeah.
I feel inadequate, guys. This is another one. You're leveling my skincare up again. Like, what the fuck?
What do you do, Rob? You use the
fucking
shampoo?
soap on fucking washcloth. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's still a skincare routine.
Right from the
You're blessed that you don't have to deal with, like, if I don't take care of my face, man, it's acne, man. Growing up, I had tons and tons and tons of acne, and you know what? I used to say I wouldn't wish acne upon anyone. But I actually, you know what, I do, because it builds character, man. To go through life having shit on your face, pizza face, I'm saying it. Yeah. It builds character. You build confidence in yourself to be able to go out and have a conversation with somebody with this giant fucking thing on your face staring everybody down like it's going to beat somebody up, you know? So, yeah, confidence builder. I'm thankful. I honestly believe that the personality I am today has a lot to do with the fact that I dealt with acne growing up. Bastard, this guy hasn't dealt with any. He's just like,
I've had it in the past, but just the way it had me, because you're just like, I don't wish this on anybody, but I do.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I use CalMag.
Breath of like, listen, I don't wish this on my worst enemy, but I do.
I would wish this on my best friends.
No, boy, I was chubby back then, so like, I don't know. I had some things. Face broke out here and there. I had a couple Whopper Juniors. You know, it's worse when you got none and then you got some, and it's like, poof, look at that fucking thing. So,
right?
I get it.
Yeah,
we get it.
Yeah, and boys can't do makeup. Well, we guess we could, but
some nowadays, 2022, we can't make.
I suppose it is to yourself. It's just, yeah, you can get. It's obvious. Like it's just obvious. You go to class and you got makeup on your face as a man. You know, in one spot.
This could be an interesting Q&A. We had a $5 question.
Goose? Yeah, what we got?
Is a hamburger a sandwich? It's very debatable. Not in my opinion.
No.
Different buns, son.
Yeah.
Whole different shit.
Chris?
Is a hamburger a sandwich? That's the question.
It's a $5 question, Chris.
Funny Q&A, I'm sure.
That was a $5 question, too. That's a $5 question. So I need a $1 million answer.
At least a $6 answer.
That's a great question. That's like asking if turkey bacon is bacon, you know? It's like,
but it's not. It's turkey bacon.
But it's turkey bacon, but it's still
turkey bacon. Yeah.
I don't think hamburger is a sandwich, right? It's a hamburger.
It's between a bun. A sandwich is between bread. As soon as you put a bun in, it changes the equation, the dynamic. It's just you can't cut it into fourths anymore. That should be the criteria.
These questions are too difficult. I give up.
And you have a degree. So do I. Yeah. I would say no, wholeheartedly. No, it is not a sandwich. Come on. Quit pissing around. And if you as soon as you put it on a bun, it's a bunwich. Okay? That's just fact. That's fact. Okay? Let's just put a trigger warning out there before we get any farther into this episode, because Lord knows what we're getting into. These questions may be offending. But if you have any questions, guys, whether it's related to gardening, lifestyle, anything in between, that's what we're going to do here today, because we do get asked to do some Q&A questions, and we want to hear what you guys have brewing within your consciousness. Morbid says, I'm not high enough. I'm not high enough for these interrogation questions.
Yeah.
Oh, too funny.
Here's a good one. IPM for beginners. So maybe just quick routine. What's your IPM routine? Maybe go around on this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, for me, what recently I've been using is the Cantrol from Mammoth.
MP, yes.
That's been working out really good.
Very
I got rid
nice.
of my gnats that I had. Just spraying once a week. And really, I've only been spraying once I start to see the gnats. And that has helped everything. Diatomaceous earth, I mix that in sometimes in the top part of the soil, in start of planting. That helps. That actually breaks down into a silica, so it can be beneficial as well for the plant. I was doing essential oil sprays. I kind of stopped doing those just because I don't really need to do them. But 5 to 10 drops of essential oils into water and then a surfactant. Mix it all together. Some people just use like a little bit of dish soap. Dr. Bronner's dish soap is something to use. Mix that all together and spray it onto the plants and onto the soil and all that stuff. And then yellow sticky traps. That's part of IPM, right? So that's basically it. I can think off the top of my head. What about you guys?
We've got damn near the same thing. I've got this. I always forget what it is. It's a type of orchid, but it's like it's a Patulalo. I forgot the name. I got it in one of my videos, man, and I'm pretty baked. I'm not gonna lie, but it's a longer name. But flying pest will go to it and it'll eat it, kind of like a Venus flytrap. It attracts it to there with like a pheromone, and it'll eat them. And you don't have to feed it at all, just straight water. I have 2 of those in my garden. Don't really need them that often. Sometimes I do have to feed them because there's not many flying bugs. But really the same shit for the most part as Chris, which is cool. That candy control's a fucking beast, man. I recently started implementing that just for IPM. I ran into gnats at one point too, and it was almost like immediate impact. Like that same day, they were just slowly dying off. So that shit is solid. Colin and the team knows what they're doing.
I forgot Dr. Zymes is another one that I've used that has been good in the past. So
yeah, Dr. Zymes I've used in the past. Jadab is another wood. You could have there's a natural to make that. Early veg and neem oil makes people freak out about that, but whatever. Science says otherwise. And then what else is another one? Rosemary. It's another.
What do you do, P?
I'm a strong believer. Yeah, that IPM comes before you. IPM comes before you get in the tent. A lot of it has to do with staying clean. I do a lot of my gardening first thing in the morning, so that I avoid going out doing yard duties or any kind of work in the grass or outside of any sorts. I actually, believe it or not, I do a lot of naked gardening. I think that really helps cut down on a lot of shit. No clothing, no hair, no dust, anything that I'm bringing from upstairs. I got 2 dogs. One's a chow chow, very fluffy. Yeah, I comb it.
You comb it back. You put a little hairnet on it.
Yeah, pull a little hairnet.
It's also a form of precision stress for the plants. Seeing you naked. So
yeah, that's right. Small amounts of stress goes a long way.
Try combs off of that one.
Yep. He knows. Yeah. You just
shout out to the anonymous gifter.
I digress. Yeah, the anonymous gifter with 5 gifted subs. Thank you, guys. If you're watching this over on YouTube, actually, we're streaming this live in front of a live digital audience over on Twitch, twitch.tv/fromthestash. You can come check us out. We're live every single week on Thursdays at 1 o'clock Central, 2 Eastern and 11 Pacific. I'll get it.
Not you.
No, I'll get it eventually. We switched our times up. So now I'm trying to remember
just at some point layout. On Thursdays.
But that's why
notifications on, and then you'll be notified.
That's it. That's why you've got your notifications on, guys. But when it comes to IPM, as I said, a lot of it comes before I even get in the garden. A clean, healthy self is going to lead to a clean, healthy garden. Don't wear your shoes in the garden. If you've been outside, those kind of things. And then aside from that, I like to do a lot of trimming. I like keeping a nice clean plant. I get a lot of hate for the amount of air circulation that I keep in my garden, because I've got 4 circulation fans, 4 clip-on fans going in there. And even though I only have 2 of them running at the moment, They're just clipped on, ready and going, because I like to set my tent up before the plant goes. I do think that circulation in your tent certainly helps with bug control as well. If they can't land and breed, they're not going to. So that's one of those things that I keep in mind as well. And you know, just a good 3 spray regimen. And as Chris said, I don't do that either because I don't have a problem right now. If you can follow steps 1, 2, and 3, you can avoid steps 4, 5, and 6 when it comes to IPM. You know, if you do start to see a presence of something, then that's when I will start to include 4, 5, and 6. And the 4, 5, and 6 is now a spray regularly, removing them from the tent, cleaning the tent a little more regularly, those kind of things. So yeah, great question. IPM is definitely one of those things that as a beginner, you're not thinking of because it doesn't involve smoking beautiful, glorious buds, but it's something that you have to take into consideration because it's not if you get bugs, it's when you get bugs. Okay, remember that. Great question.
Yeah, that is, absolutely.
And next one in here, when do you guys put plants under light during the germination stage? After the cauline leaves show or before?
It's a tough word. It's a tough word. Usually before, personally. But
sorry, state the question again? I don't think I understood the question. Like, when do you put them under light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, immediately. Sorry, go ahead.
I just start very low light initially because, you know, again, you don't need a whole lot of light to get started. But then you got to think about when you transition that light from low light and distant to closer up in because you don't want to get that stretchy, lanky seedling. It starts out bad. It's not going to be a solid plant overall. So usually after about a week and I start to see that plant growing, that's when I'll start to bring the light closer, still really low level light. And then at that point, I'll slowly increase the intensity, but still keeping it very low.
I'll plant the seed into the medium and then put it into my grow space with the lights on because I don't know when it's going to sprout. So once it sprouts, it'll immediately have that light. Now I've done it in the past before where, and actually I've set my light so it's on the light cycle, 18.6 light cycle for veg, for example. And the plant sprouted during lights off. When the lights turn back on, the seedling's yellow. So it's like it hasn't received that light. But yeah, I just normally, it goes back to green after a little while. But yeah, having light on it right away, I think is what most people do.
Yep, that's what I meant immediately. And I'm using the exact same light that I'm using in flower. It is the exact same light that I'm using in veg. Is the exact same light that I'm using in germination. It's just a matter of distance and intensity, right? You do not need that. Personally, I'm using the SE 5000 or 7000. You don't need that cranked up to high right on top of that plant. That's ludicrous. I would put I would put the light all the way to the top of the tent at about 50%. I want to be able to expose that seedling to almost as much light as possible as it can, so that when it does come out, there's no acclimation. If a lot of times, if you take a seedling that you put in, say, a Ziploc bag, and you put it in a cupboard, and it germinates, and you're like, oh, exciting, and then you put it in the medium, and then you put it under a light, it dies. Because the light is way too intense, it's too cold, it's a change of environment, so on and so forth. So just, I plant it and forget it. That's a common thing. Stick it in the soil, under the light. The light's about 4 or 5 feet high, at about 50%. Works for me. And then as soon as it starts to germinate, that's another question, but you're playing that distance game, right? That's when you're in intensity and distance, how much and how far. But immediately right away, you're just going to let it do its thing.
What PPFD and seedling early veg? I do 200 to, basically 200 for a little bit, like first few days. Then I'll raise it up to 400 while it's in seedling. And then, slowly kind of work its way up as it gets through veg, 400, 500, 600. And then in flowering, I'm 600 to 900 generally. So I have a par meter, so I'm able to dial things in. Do you guys have par meters or no?
I was just going to say, I think it's about having a par meter that if you notice about starting low and gradually hardening that cultivar off a little bit. So you don't want to jump right into it in terms of like intense light. It needs to gradually increase slowly but surely, whether you have it dialed in exactly to the PPFD or just low to high, very, very gradual for sure.
I go with Chris's answer. My answer is fucked if I know, man. I'm fucking planted and forget it, bro. Who do you think you're asking here? I let Chris answer these ones.
I don't know.
Fuck if I know. No, I don't know. The controller 69 Pro's given me a lot of readings now, but it's not doing power. It's doing VPD.
Big shout out to AC Infinity on that one. I just opened mine up. It's a banger.
Oh, it's sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh, don't even get me started. I'll rant about it for way too long.
About Flava. That's one super geek. Big shout out to the team over there, Ventana Plant Science. They just sent out double the order to the crew over at Franklin Field. So we're running it at Franklin. Full capacity, man. Room 7 is insane compared to the rest of the fucking place. Like night and day in terms of the growth. You could just see it. And the only other variable is using Flava. Essentially, it's a polymer that's going to bind these nutrients and help the plant uptake it in a different form, like more how it's supposed to be taken versus force feeding it all the same. So each plant will have more of a diverse characteristic to it like it's supposed to have. Increase the terpenes, flavonoids, overall cannabinoids, and the yield. Seems crazy, but it's a polymer. So if you know anything about polymers, it's how that works with the initial product that you're putting into it.
And I don't. But what I do know is that I've seen like a scientific report and an analysis from people, an independent study, where it said the increases in terpenes, potency, and yield. And I was like, what? This is like when they say that there's like this is the smoking gun. This is the missing key. It seems like this is exactly it, but I'm not going to say that yet because I'm using it. I'm really enjoying it, but I haven't seen the results yet myself. So due time, but man, to see an independent study from scientists saying that it was like 22% more potency, or was it terpene profile?
They went from
I need the paper
to 2.4%, and then they had a fucking 14% increase in the overall yield. So essentially, it's like
and there was a 22% increase in something as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that was the overall cannabinoids, but it's a biostimulant. So just the way it works is it's a little more big brain than me. I'm going to read exactly what it is here. So essentially, it supports the nutrients assimilation and the phytochemical production. So it can help basically the way that those nutrients are being worked within the plant, not just adding another nutrient into your plant. This isn't like here's a new nutrient. It's making it work better. And it could work with anything. So that's why we're doing it. And they're not currently sponsoring us, so it's not like we're just talking shit. Like when we don't just throw things out there and be like, yeah, they give us money, so we say it. Like this one is changing my fucking garden, and it's changing on the commercial level too. So I'm hoping that they can get this out to the masses, keep a price point that's solid, and do the right thing, because we need more of this kind of stuff so we don't have to buy a fucking whole line of nutrients. We could just get one bottle to add into what we're already doing, or a soil grow, whatever you're doing. That's the key, personally.
Now, of course, like we had George and Nate on the podcast, and when they explain this and the way that I understood it was, it is essentially grabs or binds those nutrients together to be taken up by the plant, and it makes it easier and more efficient for the plant to do that. And it's like the first of it's like whether it's the first of its kind or just the most effective of its kind. I'm trying to figure it out. But again, if you go watch the episode that we did with George and Nate, they talk about it. They talk about it right there. And so, again, it's not that hard to believe that we are finding better and better products, because science is in its infancy, in my opinion. There's still so much more to grasp and to learn on how the functions of the plant really, act with different variables that we're going to see these incredible things hit the stage, and we're going to be like so skeptical of it. Like, really? Is it that good? When it's going to be that good. It's just going to be that good because we're not using the same nutrients that we've been using, or the same method that we've been using for the last 30, 40 years.
Whew. Yeah, and because it is pricey. I see that $84.99 for a quart. So it's definitely not a cheap one, but it's like, if you don't got to buy a bunch of other nutrients, this is worth doing, in my opinion, personally.
Yeah.
I did take notes while they were. I mean, I can explain it really quick. It's aspartic acid, which is a natural amino acid. They do a fermentation process, add heat to it to polymerize it. So it's a polymer that's in like a DNA shape, and it holds a negative charge. So it's going to actually grab positive charge nutrients, prevents precipitants, and then that helps obviously increase nutrient uptake and helps hold the nutrients in solution. So there's
That's sweet.
the
So hopefully
scientific reasoning
hopefully that
directly
answers
from
your-
the formulation chemist.
That's amazing, and hopefully that answers your question. Of course, I'm sure there's always going to be more to learn. I did see another question. I kind of wanted to touch on it. I want to give credit to where credit's due here. If you can find it, and then tell me, Wink. When do you? Oh, there it is. Dr. Bruce 15. When do you stop defoliating? I read it. So, Chris, what do you think?
I try to avoid defoliating as much as possible. When I do it, I do it like late veg before flipping a flower. I'll do a defoliation, and then I'll try to avoid doing it for the rest of the grow if I can. But every pheno is going to be different, right? Like you're going to get more leafy stuff. Like my Chill Out OG, for example, is super leafy, and just changing that. Just being able to strip the leaves off of that, I'm going to have to do that more frequently than I would off of a different type of cultivar or pheno that's maybe longer internodes, less leaf on it, so on and so forth. So I try to avoid as much as possible. I'll do it in veg before flipping to flower. I might do it once or twice while in the stretching phase, and then that's it. What about you guys?
Rob?
Man, it's crazy because it varies per cultivar. And what's weird is the phenotype that I kept, which I didn't keep, but I had, of your Chill Out OG was not that leafy. The leaf to bud ratio was really nice. I wish I would have fucking just kept it around because you would have loved to have that one to work with, I feel. It was so ideal of a grower. Like, I'm running some more though, so we'll hopefully find another. But usually by week 3 of flower is when I'm doing any defol, like at the most. And then towards the end of flower, sometimes I'll do some, like right when my plants are decaying and it's ending there. Now in the commercial grow setting, it's a trip, man, because you'll see people doing the schwazing technique. That's what they call it, I believe. So it's like stripping everything, all the fan leaves off of there. And you'll go into some of these spaces and it makes sense, and others it doesn't. Some cultivars get treated the same. Now I know going into the Franklin Fields grow, yesterday I saw a mother plant being treated that way, and it looked rough, but then later in the day, beautiful, vibrant, and then the buds are just massive already. So it's like, does there science behind the technique? I don't think so, but what do I know in that case? For me, I'm too worried to strip too much off of the plants. I feel like these are like your satellites, your main receptors to getting the light. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Total bro science in that case, but I don't do too much to damage the plant too far in. I try to make sure that it does its own thing and make sure I do other training techniques that have opened up that canopy more versus having to rip stuff off. I'll tuck the leaves versus, plucking the leaves if I can. What about you, P?
Same idea. I guess really we should done. In my opinion, understanding the definition of defoliating and then just removing leaves is a good distinction to make. Defoliating is, in my opinion, a mass removal of leaves, for whether it's a cleaning purpose, IPM purpose. I guess, lollipopping would be another one. I will quit defoliating, I guess is a good way to put it. I quit removing leaves at about week 3 of flower. I find it's along with any kind of training method. Again, Rob made a good point. It's cultivar specific. Some need it, some don't. But generally speaking, by week 3, no more touchy. It's you're done. You're no more. You're not going to touch the plant anymore, and you're going to let it do its own thing. And that goes along for a defoliation. But typically, I'm pulling leaves like the entire time. Like I like symmetry. I like clear penetration of light. I like cleanliness. I like a lot of things that involve constantly removing the leaves that, in my opinion, are not where they should be. For lack of a better answer, if it's under the canopy, it's gonna go. If it's touching up against another leaf, any room for precipitation or anywhere for mold to grow in between the leaves, I'm going to remove them. Some say move them. I will and sometimes do, but it really depends. It really depends. But defoliating, as it is in its question, and a typical pigeon long-winded answer, I don't do it past 3 weeks in flower.
Or son. That's good though. It's good though.
There's a question here, content creator question. I don't know if you guys saw this. Doom Rider, do you do your own editing? And what editors do you use? I assume you mean like editing program. So I can speak for all 3 of us. We all use Adobe Premiere Pro for editor. And then as far as do I do my own editing, I did my own editing up until last September. Then I took on an editor for partial editing. So the editor that I have does the Garden Talk series, Garden Talk podcast. He will basically format it, put it all together, and then I'll do one final run through of it, and then I'll release it to the public. My main channel videos, I still do them on my own. Sometimes I'll edit it, and then I'll send it off to my editor to like add in overlays and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm still doing a lot of my own editing. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm doing all my editing other than, well, I used to do Top Buds and From the Stash, and then luckily I don't anymore. Big shout out to Mrs. P helping on Top Buds, and then the homie Jesse making it happen over here on From the Stash, beautiful, and then Wink making shit beautiful on the front end, so we don't gotta do a whole lot there. But no, I just do the editing for Rob Blogs because it's more like, I guess, intimate, different. Every episode's different, and then CLtv as well. I do all the editing. Been doing it for the last 8 years. Yeah. I'm picky and critical on what I like.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've always been a record, edit, publish, all within about a 6-hour span every day. Or like when I was doing that every day. Before, when I had to work, I only had a small window of time. It was like an hour before, so I had to do it all in like an hour. So yeah, I do all my own editing. Thankfully, I don't have to do anything for any of the other channels because we've got great editors that do that for us. And I probably will continue to do my own editing. It's just something I enjoy. It's a moment of zen. It is very stressful. It definitely takes a lot of time. But I like the reward. I like the reward that's in the end. I really enjoy putting on my headphones, working myself to a beat. I make myself laugh for what that's worth. So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. It depends on what kind of content you're making. Chris has done a very good job at making a format that he can outsource. But then, like he said, his main channel, he kind of needs his touch on that still.
That's it.
There's certain things you can like From the Stash, we've got a formula and a format that stays consistent. Not every other show does. And like Pigeons channel has inspired Rob Vlogs completely. And that's really how I've taken that on too, is like kind of in the moment, film and edit right then, So
yeah. Yep.
It took me a long time to hand off. Like I've been talking about getting an editor, and I didn't think it was going to be possible. Like I didn't think somebody would be able to edit to my standards. And big shout out to Jesse. He does From the Stash and he does the Garden Talk series. He is a professional. And he does a great job all around. So big shout out to him. And it allows me to create more content, right? Because if I'm not doing the editing, if I'm spending 4, 5, 6 hours on the edit, well, then I can film something, or I can write a piece of content or whatever. So it's super beneficial. I hope to be able to hand off more things to my editor in the future.
Yeah, that is in fact, I remember the three of us having a conversation about you getting an editor and wanting to pass it off and to see how, the release, the give. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot. Even my wife is one of my editors, if you will, for Top Buds. And, giving is tough. It is tough to give that creative, passion, really. But the moment you do, and the thing is like, I'm going to be getting into more content that I really feel like would allow me to give up to an editor. I did the Dude Grows interview, and good God, would it have been nice to hold someone else accountable for all those editing mistakes. But that was me. So yeah, and they wouldn't have happened. It simply wouldn't have happened if there was somebody far better at this than me. So I can't wait to get to a point where I create content that can be pushed off, so I can spend more time to a creative edit or a creative content, But yeah, it'll come. It's due time. I don't think you need to rush though. If it's a question coming from someone that's like, I need an editor. No, you don't. I don't think you do. Not yet.
No, especially not if you're not making any money to pay for it. Don't just fucking...
Yeah, that's a really good point, because these are not free. They're not free. No one works for free.
No.
Except for my management.
Yeah. Big shout out to you also, manager. But yeah, man, I saw another question that was a good one. I'm stoned, so I don't forget who did it. We should figure out a way to make it so we just pull the single question up instead of the whole chat on the screen. That'd be dope. So we could just have that one.
That would be dope.
Yeah. That should be fly. But something about having your RO water or purified water going into a humidifier. It's a question I've had a lot of people ask me, And, you know, with AC Infinity just dropping the new badass humidifier, big shout out to them for a top loading humidifier. Like, how has that not been a thing for
Bro.
one? Just got to pause on that. How the fuck has that?
I have another brand that's top fill, but yeah, it's
Do you?
for many years is like
There
have to
are
take
other
off the whole
brands.
tank, flip it over, unscrew the thing, and yeah.
But not other brands plug into the same unit that all your other shit's plugged in. And again, I'm not going to talk about, because I will just rant about these guys and I sound like a mainstream sellout. But it's like, again, this is a company that's listening to the community, answering to the questions that we have. We have talked about how the community needs every single one of the products that have been released. And what do you know? They're being released. And and I'm so thankful and I'm proud that they're a proud sponsor of Pigeons and From the Stash and the three of us. So any goose,
whole fucking crew.
Any goose.
So with that being said, you know, I in the past have said frigate, and I've just put tap water in, and I get like calcium buildup, and they stop working over time. They just don't work as good. When I've used RO water, it's done really well. Now, big shout out to my boy Mark over at Perfect Gardens. And Dave Hansen, of course, sent over this Drops of Balance. So I've been using this as just an easy peasy to go into stuff like that I need to take care of. Essentially, this is going to help remove the chlorine, heavy metals, and sodium fluoride, which is fucking sweet. It's all natural, easy to use, and it'll help remineralize your water too in a good way. So this, I haven't seen any sort of funky mineral deposits like I've seen with.
So that shit.
You almost think you would.
Really? Does it not like leave any residual, like the bottom or nothing?
There's a little, you notice like there's almost a film on top that I noticed when I let it sit in there, and then I just took a fishing fucking.
So it's separating it.
Yeah,
is that
like
what it's doing?
It's kind of separate. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a trip. Yeah,
cool.
It is a trip. So big shout out to Mark's big brain because he put together this product. It's called Drops of Balance, and this is helpful there. Otherwise, if you've got like a boogie brew filter or something to clean that water a little bit, depending on where you live, you know, but. If you're using reverse osmosis, you got to pay for that over time. That filter is going to have to be changed.
You know that, like,
constantly.
Water's pretty hard. I get it. And like I used to have 300 parts. That's what our water used to be before we got a beautiful water plant now that I don't even have to touch my water. Comes right out of the tap into my plant. Love it. I'm losing it. Fuck.
The water quality.
Yeah. It's shit. No. Stop. The water. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I understand water is harsh and you're running it through a humidifier. So it gets clogged up with calcium. Can't you just fucking rush some CLR through that?
Yeah. You got to just maintain it. Could you? Because I can't imagine if you, Chris.
I would avoid it altogether. I put tap water into like my tap water comes out at 485 ppm. So it's like really hard. And I put that into my RO system, like back in the, misspeaking here. I put that into my humidifier back in the day, and just white fuzz are all over the plants. It actually clogs the carbon filter.
Yeah.
Suck, believe it or not.
Really?
People have a lack of airflow. It's because their humidifiers are emitting this water vapor, which actually has calcium in it as well, and then it clogs the carbon filter. Believe it or not.
Yeah,
so I avoid it altogether. I do RO. Some people will do distilled.
Yes, you take that out.
I think that's probably more expensive. But I have an RO system, and some people, I know somebody in the chat here saying it costs you 3 times as much because you're putting the drain line when you're putting that water through the filter. For every gallon, there's about 3 gallons going to your drain line. But is it really wasted if you're taking that water from the drain line and using it elsewhere? Right? A lot of people use it on their outdoor plants, for example. That's what I do. Is I'll take that drain line and put it into the outdoor plants, and they seem to be fine.
Big brain shit. That's a good idea. That way, it's still not wasteful, but you're getting the use of it that you need to use. Very good idea, Chris. I like that.
And even if it does go down the drain, it's going right back into my local water municipal system.
City
so I
water.
guess maybe wasting energy, but not really wasting water.
I'm so thankful my town's got ROs. So like we got a beautiful water plant system, so I don't have to have anything in my house. It's all done before it gets to my house, you know?
Yeah. See, that's the good thing too. You know, people who live in rural areas can battle it by using fucking, depending their well water, depending on the system there. But if you live in a big city, or depending on where you live, and that water treatment isn't as thorough, we say, you know, I'm in Michigan, so we know Flint. Shout out Flint. It just more times than not, I've gone through so many humidifiers because of just using tap water. So I always now consistently am using RO. Now I've just been using the drops of balance in mine, and it's mandatory for me. I don't want to like waste machinery and equipment. Versus, I know water's important too, but it's like this shit winds up in a landfill and just sits there.
Quick sad story, and that relates to all this, is my RO system, the membrane actually failed on it one time. So the water coming out of it was pretty much tap water, the same ppm. I was putting that in my humidifier. And unfortunately, I saw what somebody here in the chat had mentioned. D Squad said he thought he had powdery mildew because it was that white buildup. Well, I had plants in flowering, and the plant was covered in whiteness. I threw out the plant. Like that's ugh.
It's not. Isn't it
smoking that?
I killed. That'd
be just as bad.
I killed Headbanger and fucking all my best shit because this is exact reason. This is exactly why. Like this is what I should have started this out with. Is I killed my whole last crop thinking I had powdery mildew when it was me being ignorant and not specifying with my mom when she was putting the fucking, because I'm her caregiver. I'm like, hey, could you just refill the humidifier? She's like, no problem, honey. I'm like, love you, Ma. Well, I didn't specify to her that, hey, use the filter. You know, make sure the shit's clean. And so for a week, this was being done. I come back in there and I've got this white substance on my leaves, and it wasn't. I'm going there without my glasses, so it wasn't powdery mildew. It was calcium buildup. It was only afterwards when I'm seeing a plant that she didn't kill that she kept outside, and I'm like, oh man, I just killed my favorite shit from being ignorant. You know, it's unfortunate, but it happens. You live and you learn. Unfortunately, the plants didn't live.
Yeah, I would toss them too, though, because I sure as hell don't want to smoke calcium any more than I want to smoke powdery mildew. Like, that's just my opinion. So, yeah, that's make sure that, again, this is another reason why we don't apply anything in flower. I personally, like, and that goes for, you know, maybe a water application, for crying out loud, you know, if you have, I don't know, pH water works for like maybe like a mite, I guess, if you're trying to just pH, trying to get rid of them and something. Again, water could have a harmful effect on your flowering plants. So something to take in consideration. And there are products out there that claim to use in flower. I don't believe them. I simply do not believe them. So,
well, you technically can use anything in flower.
Yeah, you can. Sure you can. Sure you can. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like that's the thing, man, is like it's really it's buyer beware type of shit, because not every company is putting things on there specifying for. The main thing is we've got people who are putting products out and it says it can be used all the way up until harvest, and they're not letting you know that it's a product that you can rinse off of your tomato or something. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of specifically made products for our kind of plants. The ones that are out there usually say don't use in flower, period. You know, other than the ones who are just trying to get that bag, they don't really care about it.
We answered Jalopy Joe's question here.
You remember the epi with that famous robe shuffle? I didn't have a hat on.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see my bald head.
Nobody wants to see my emo hair. So,
Woo!
So we're good. No, we're good. Probably not.
We did an episode where none of us wore hats. It would just, the comment section would just be
in fairness, it would, right? It would. And we all shaved with no hats. Holy crikey.
Who are these guys?
Who are these guys? Remember when we got our photos done in Vegas last year? None of us wore hats. None of us wore hats for our photo op.
We did, just you.
No, I didn't. No.
None of us is you. No. Me and Chris. Every picture I got, me and Chris got hats.
No, in our suits. In our suits afterwards. No, I didn't. I had my hat on for those, but when we were on top of the parking garage in our suits, we didn't have hats.
For sure, right. I had a hat.
Thought we did.
For sure did too.
Really?
You didn't. No. We as in you and you didn't have hats.
I swear, the photo with all three of us standing there. No way. Wait, you have hats on in our suits. Really?
Bro, like,
59. We did. Yeah.
Now I'm losing fucking confidence.
So, I'm pretty sure we didn't. But I can't remember.
Photos ready. Let me look.
The evidence is coming out. But when you think about that,
our facts guy. Me and Pete bring a lot of bro science.
Oh no.
And then Chris brings facts.
No.
Okay.
If you haven't figured it out,
Rob
we are also.
Right. Me and Rob were wearing hats.
Whole time.
I didn't get no hat.
Oh,
I remember I took off my hat, and then like Chris didn't take off his hat, and I'm like,
I thought I remember you getting photos.
Is this not like a Pledge of Allegiance thing?
This is what happens when we hire the photo or the photographer. Eh? They would do whatever the fuck we want. Our mom isn't involved.
Take off our hats.
Yeah. Guys, this is a Q&A. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions in regards to either gardening, growing, lifestyle, token, smoking, joking? Phenomenal growth asks, fellas, is there anything about gardening that seems more like a chore now than enjoyment? I'm a new grower, and every time I can do something in the garden, I'm always so excited. After growing for years and years, does this excitement wear off and become more of a thing that you do just for quality product? Rob, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. The passion's there when I've got new genetics and there's something cool and I'm pheno hunting. When it's the same routine, it becomes a factory and you just want your good weed. Now, the passion, it's going to be for everybody different, but like I'm a busy ass person. I've got 2 kids. I'm a full-time dad. Well, I mean, split custody, but like I've got my kids all fucking week, you know? Then I've got jiu-jitsu, which I can rarely make it to. Emerald Hills RP, which is our GTA roleplay server. 3 fucking shows 4 shows on YouTube. Director of marketing for a company in Michigan. Once in a while, I like to just sit. You know, that doesn't happen often. And then I was maintaining 2 gardens. Now I just got 1. But I never stopped growing because I do have a passion of having dank weed. I like to see the growth. I like to do all that. But it's a chore because not everything is just like easy every time, you know? Like I don't grow the most, you know, commercial savvy cultivars. I grow shit that's a little more finicky and takes a little more effort and a little more routine changes that come into play. And it's like, it's not easy. I mean, I got my door's closed. You hear my son coughing, I'm sure, but I've got my son who's sick at the moment, home from school. There's always something going on. So when the garden comes into play, I need to have it simplified and easy. Otherwise it becomes a fucking headache. And it's not something I always look forward to because I'm like, shit, then I got to go transplant tonight. I got 20 fucking plants I have to transplant this evening. Ugh, literally, I'm speaking out loud. I've got 20 and I have to transplant. So I'm not looking forward to that. But feeding them, yeah. Training them, yeah. Harvesting them, yeah. Trimming them, no. So it all just, you know, it depends on the person, you know, but I love herb. I don't think I'll ever stop because the masses don't like what I like. So I'm always going to have to grow what I like for myself. This is what it is.
I think it only really feels like a chore for me when like I don't have it in my schedule. Like my lights turn on. I have my lights running on at night, so they turn on at 6 p.m. And then Max is leaping off my lap.
Bye, Max.
Bye, Max. So my lights will come on at 6 p.m. And if I'm like out, like sometimes I'm over my girlfriend's family's house, and then I come home later at night, and it's time to go to bed. But it's like, oh crap, I got to go in the grow room. Oh shit, today's transplant day, or oh no, I need to do defoliation. So it'll feel like a chore then. But if I pre-plan things and schedule things in, and I actually have it on my calendar at 6 p.m. every night, I go into my grow room, and if I have it all listed out and ready to go, then I can kind of get into the mood, get into the mindset of doing it, and get kind of more excited around it. But yeah, it can at times feel like a chore when it's not planned in, is kind of the short answer there for me.
100%. You really, really nailed it for me. Gardening, we kind of lightly talked about this right before we went live, and we were mentioning, you know, is there any reason to grow still? We were thinking about whether that would be a conversation, a topic with the great weed that's really on the market. And let us know in the chat if this is something you really think this is a conversation of discussion. You know, with the plethora of weed, the plethora of dispensaries, the cultivars that are being dropped, it's like, and at the price, I can buy an ounce of weed for $75, advertised as quad A, if you will, and it's pretty damn good. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's pretty damn good, and that's Canadian. Those are beaver coins, so that's probably about $55-$60 American. And it's good weed, hard, solid nuggets. And, you know, you ask yourself, you know, if it's as stressful as you might be asking, you know, or telling yourself, you know, I have to do this, I got to do that, and it's wearing me down. My wife hates me because I'm always in the garden. These are things you got to ask. Is it worth it? Are you still getting that return from your passion? And to me, Chris kind of knocked the nail on the head there when he said it really comes down to scheduling. The reason that I still grow is because this is the first thing I do in the morning. I get up, I get ready, I either have a shower, have some breakfast, or at least a morning shake. I go straight to the garden. It's the first thing I do. It takes about 60 minutes, maybe a little bit more every day. And I do just that. If there's transplanting to be done, now you will never catch me dead growing 22 plants. You will never catch me more than like maybe 3 or 4. And then that's only at the beginning. I might do like 6 to get them germinated. And then maybe like we're going to have male, we're going to cull 1 or 2. I might at most have 4 or 5. But that's for a reason. First thing in the morning, I only have an hour and a half. I got to be able to manage that time. And it's my zen time. You know, throw on your favorite Taylor Swift, your Miley Cyrus, whatever it is. And man, you know, you got your balls flowing to the wind because you're naked. And it's a zen. It's a moment of peace. And that's a moment of therapy that I don't have to pay for. And that time is time to myself. And I enjoy that. But does it become a chore? Yeah. No matter what. And like Chris said, if it doesn't fall inside that time frame, that's when it's going to become a chore. I hate harvesting. I hate trimming. I hate, you know, all that shit that's going to take longer than that 1 hour and a half at the first thing in the morning. That's it. So
have you tried the Trimble yet? AC's Trimble?
No. I haven't harvested. I haven't harvested since.
Yeah. Sled dogs took longer to get yours.
Long time. Yeah, long sled dogs.
I got mine like right before your harvest, and mine was a few weeks out yet. So I was like, "Right, should be good." And it's like, no, I forgot sled dogs. Mm-hmm. And see, I think another gripe for me is my garden's not in my house, so it's not like I'm just walking in the other room. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a caregiver grow, so I'm at another space where I'm growing at. We'll just say that, and it's a little bit not right easy.
A chore.
You know? It's a chore.
It's a fucking chore. Yeah.
Winter, and I got to fucking go out there and deal with it. It's not fun. You know, it was easier when I was at my ex's, when I used to live in my old place, because I'm right down the street. Now it's a little bit not as easy, but it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. I'd rather have the weed I like. I've smoked 3 blunts, and I'm not satisfied at all.
I like D Squad's analogy that says, you know, it's like asking if we should stop making our own dinner since there's lots of great restaurants. You know, it's a really good point. It's I do enjoy having someone else make my food. However, I can't afford it. B, I do enjoy making my own food. That time in the kitchen, listening to music, it is, you know, it's a moment. It's a moment, and you know, and you can have your most creative moments when you're doing something zen-like. You know, whether cooking.
I come up with some of my best business ideas when I'm in the garden. I swear, like us collaborating, no joke. I was in my garden with 3 really different cultivars that had a really even canopy, and I was like, it's crazy how these work together so well. And like it gave me that like fucking Mr. Miyagi analogy where I'm like, man, we're 3 different cultivars, totally different phenotypes, but we can make an even canopy. Boom. And it was, dude, like just shit like that. When you're in a different mind state, you're out of the busy and you're into the static, so to speak. The garden is dynamic, but it's static because your plants are stationary. They're not moving. You set it up how you want. If it's stressful, like my shit is stressful because I got too many fucking plants. I'm always pheno hunting. And now I'm trying to get some in the commercial space. And caregiver grow. I'm not just growing for myself. So it's a little more stressful sometimes. And it's not necessarily a situation where it's always as rewarding. Because if I harvest shit I don't love, like my last harvest, everything was fruity and I didn't fucking like it. Like it all came out very lemony and berry-like. And it was like, bleh, for me, I don't like that shit. But some people love it, you know? My mom loved it. So that's great. But then it's not rewarding for me. All that work, all those months. Now I got all these cultivars that I just want to purge. So it really just depends how you look at stuff and how you set it up. It's all your choice, you know?
Yeah, what a great Q&A. I was worried there at the beginning, the first question being the skincare routine. I was like, oh, what is this Q&A going to be? So it actually,
I knew it would be a banger.
Turned into some really good questions there. And I appreciate everyone in here that we're asking questions here on Twitch, twitch.tv/FromTheStash. Every single Thursday we are here. So I encourage y'all on YouTube to swing by sometime. Come hang out with us.
I want to give a huge shout out to our boy behind the scenes, man. Wink is the guy who's got more than links. He's got good looks and a huge presence mashing those buttons with the P's and Q's.
You better calm down with the big talk. Ladies present, man.
Jesus Christ. Man, this show is what it is because this man is an absolute legend. So huge shout out to Wink, man. We really do appreciate you, brother. Thank you guys so much, man. I think that's all the time we have. On behalf of myself, Chris, Rob, this is From the Stash. Wink in the back. We're out of here, man.
Peace out, everyone.